Hi folks, probably wondering what I'm doing in a bush. Well, watch this video as I talk to one of our special friends, Mr. Simon Grundy, who is taking on the Jungle Ultra, which is 230 kilometers in the Amazon rainforest. Really interesting interview here on Simon's mindset, what he does for his body and his sense of adventure. Keep watching.
Look at that! Look at that.
Yeah, there's always something knocking around here.
It's like animal magic.
Yeah.
So I'll do a quick introduction. And how we're here really. So I run Brawd Men's Health with a few other people. One of our coaches, Andy, introduced me last week to Simon, who is there. Okay.
Hello.
Simon Grundy. And we got an interesting story really, and the things I'm interested in is Simon's running something called a Jungle Ultra, which sounds very interesting, but on the same hand sounds horrific.
Yeah.
And I thought we'd do a video interview and recording on a few things of how you got to where you are, a bit about, and a bit of focus on the Brawd elements that I'm working on for the online group, which is body, mind, and adventure. So it fits in quite nicely on it kind of what you're putting yourself through, because there's a little bit of those three things in what you're doing, which works out really nicely. So yeah, just over to you really. So tell me about you anyway. Just tell me a little bit about you first, like a minute. The life of Simon, yeah.
Well, interestingly enough, I used to do cross country at school, and was pretty good at it. Didn't take it too seriously. Did it all at school, and then just like many things, just petered out basically. And then when we moved here to Herefordshire about 10 years ago, we had a thing called the Mud Runner, which I know Andy's done and some of your guys have probably done.
Yeah.
And I basically saw that advertised in a pub and thought, you know what, I'm going to give that a go.
Whilst you were drunk, probably. All the best decisions.
Absolutely, yeah. It was literally a flyer on a table in the pub, yeah. And that just got me straight back into it all. Went along, did my first one, and did all right, really, because I took it quite seriously, because I thought, God, am I going to get ran? So I did quite a lot of training, probably the most training ever for the first one. And then just took it from there, really. And I've kind of gone from there to doing half marathons, then from half marathons to marathons, and now ultra marathons, and now multi-stage ultra marathons. Yeah.
So, I guess the progression? How long was that? When did you first? When was this mud run again? When did you see it?
10 years ago.
So, tell me about. So you've gone from. So do you think it was? So tell me about this run you're doing. This tell everyone. It's going to.
Yeah, so I am doing the Jungle Ultra, which is it's a self-sufficient race. So basically, I'm not flying out with anybody. I get on a plane, go to Peru, fly to Cusco, meet everybody outside a hotel at 5 o'clock in the morning, get on a bus, and we are taken to Cloud Forest, which is an amazing 4-hour bus journey, apparently, right up into the clouds. And then I'm basically doing 230 kilometers in the Amazon jungle. Yeah. Carrying all my stuff, so we're sleeping in a hammock every night. Get our own hammocks, and then carrying all our own food as well, and that is everything, bars, gels, anything you can think of, we've got to stick in our rucksack, carry it for the full 230k, and that is spread over 5 days. So we're doing probably, it's about, well, they all change slightly, but it's about 23, 24 miles a day probably, and then the last day is the long one where we have to do 97k. Yeah.
In the jungle.
Yeah.
What's the biggest risk?
The biggest risk is, well, for me personally, the biggest risk is upsetting my calf muscle, because if that goes, it goes. Nothing I can do about it. But realistically, the biggest risk is enough salt and hydration, all that kind of stuff, and make sure you can get your food in you. Because they have had people last year. There's a couple of guys coming back who did it last year who got helicoptered out of there. Nutrition went wrong. They started throwing up. And then, of course, you're trying to eat and nothing stays in, and they ended up in all sorts of trouble. So, I suppose that's the main one. Yeah.
Because I'm really interested in. So there, I know you can see my screen. So there is like 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
You did your mud runners. You did your mud runs. At what point? Where do you go from mud runs? Because mud runs are pretty tough in themselves for the uninitiated. They're basically constant running in mud, funny enough.
Yeah.
And where do you go from there? Where do you go from the mud runs? Then what was the bit that went, do you know what, I need a bit more? Or tell me about...
It was, and then I saw advertised, what was my first half marathon? Cardiff half marathon.
Okay.
And I thought, well, I've never done that kind of stuff before, really. It's all on road, so I'll give that a go. So that was my first half marathon. And then, actually, from there was quite a large jump to the marathon, because my dad was really ill and had a brain tumour.
Okay.
So I decided to do the London Marathon, to raise money, basically, for my dad's charity. And then that again came down to the pub, really, I'm afraid, because that's how I decided then to do the London Marathon in bare feet, to raise money.
To the left.
So that was my first ever marathon, was doing it in bare feet, which is a bit daft, but...
Why did you do that then? Was that just a challenge, or...?
Yeah. Well, a couple of things. I used to live in Australia, so I used to walk around in bare feet all the time, and that's probably what gave me the idea. But like I said, it was very pub-based again at the time, and I just thought, I was in the pub, probably had a few too many beers, and thought, oh, I know, why don't I do it in bare feet? And I announced it to a couple of people in the pub, and that was it. Then there was no getting away from it. So what that meant, of course, I didn't think about it properly. That's just me down to a T. It meant basically doing all my training for the London Marathon on the road, and I live very rural, so my roads around here are pretty nasty, country roads.
I was going to say, that's not a nice place to run on, with barefoot.
So all through winter, I basically just ran barefoot around here, building up to whatever it was, 20 miles, and just got on with it, really, And that, to be honest, probably sparked quite a few of these things, because I just thought, well, just go for it, see what happens. And by the time I got down to London then, because I'd done all my training here on my sort of gritty roads, got down to London, and to be honest, it was, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it was great. Didn't have any problems at all.
And it's really interesting for me, because I like characters, and I think you're a good character. I think you've got to be, some people call me crazy. I think you've got to be crazy to do, not crazy, but in a, I don't think you being stuck behind a desk.
Yeah.
So if we can just focus on the body still. So, and then I'll just go into your mindset. I'm quite interested in the mindset. So what stages have your body gone through? What have you gone through? And you mentioned your calf and things like that. Because what I'm finding at the moment, I'm sure lots of my guys and girls, they're doing a bit of running.
Yeah.
You're enjoying it.
Yeah.
And after a little while, you start to, there's a few niggles, because most of my clients aren't young whippersnappers. I mean, I'm 40, I can't even remember how old I am, 41, I think, when I last looked. So tell me about the thing you've gone through and the management of stuff that goes on in your body at the moment, putting in this mileage and things like that.
It's interesting you ask, because I have learned so much in the last couple of months, largely because I injured my calf a bit, and I'm just really lucky to find a really good physio who happens to teach runners at quite a high level. And it was just by chance I met him locally where I live. And warming up is just something that I wasn't doing properly at all.
Okay.
I now have a drill that I know exactly what I'm doing, and it doesn't involve stretching at all. in the wall. Well, it's dynamic stretching, not static stretching.
Yeah.
And again, most runners, you turn out, all right, you do a little bit of jiggling around, or you think you might run, do a little jog, but really that's not setting you up in a good place. You're kind of setting yourself up for failure, and also warming down and then doing your proper stretching.
Yeah.
And for me at the moment then, after I've warmed down, done stretching, is ice bath.
Tell me a bit about these ice baths, and I've seen a few of these. What?
Yeah, well, for me, rather than actually getting in the bath, which I have done, but my thing now is out by the tap in the garden, big dustbin, because it's my calf, I can fill it right up to the top. Before I go for a run, chuck a tray of ice cubes in, stick a lid on the bin, that's it, job done. Do everything that I want to do, and then when I come back, the sadistic ice bath's ready. Don't think about it, shoes and socks off, get in it. Kate, my wife, she finds it hilarious. Peeing down with rain, it's freezing cold outside, and I'm standing in the garden in a bin.
How long do you stand in it for?
I stand in it for 10 to 15 minutes. Now, you do it the first time, you think this is insane, but actually 1 minute is insane, and then after that it's fine because you can't feel anything anyway.
And do you think, this routine,
yeah,
are you saying that this is actually managing your previous injury, or
the ice side of it is mind the cat.
Hello.
The ice side of it more is managing injury. The rest of it, if you're upping the miles and that kind of thing, you should really be doing, full stop. If you want to stay injury free, yeah.
If I'm honest, I obviously take quite a few classes and PT clients, and if I'm absolutely honest, when I'm on my own running, I do a little bit of a warm up, but I'm just like, oh, sod this, I'm off. And I know
what everyone wants to do. You want to run, don't you? You go somewhere. I'm going for a run. You don't want to be pumping around,
Well, I know, I'm a PT and I should know better, but I know. But actually, I'm starting to get a few niggles, and I've noticed. I thought, oh, hang on, and I'm looking at these things afterwards. So on my downtime, I do a lot of foam rolling. I do a lot of stretching.
Yeah, and that's all good as well. But it should be as well, definitely. Yeah.
It's interesting.
Do you know what's really funny is that at all the running clubs, I'm a member of a running club, I'm not going at the moment because I've got a couple of months now. Jungle thing, and I'm not going on a Tuesday because I know if I get there, nobody does any warming up, and it's kind of, you're there and you're chatting with your mates and blah, 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 and I got to be so careful now, do my thing, and I just know, I'll shuffle around there and you have a chat with a load of friends and stuff, and it's the same with running clubs all over the country. Most of them, or certainly loads of them, don't go through what you should be doing because, they appreciate people finish work and you get there and everyone...
it's a good...
Yeah.
That's a really good point. And I'm guessing these warm-ups aren't, anything spectacular. You're just focusing on the main, the main areas, the hip flexors, the butt, the quads, which is your front of your legs, the back of the legs.
It doesn't take that long, but it probably takes 15 minutes really to go through the drill that I'm doing. You could scale it down a little bit maybe, but
Yeah, I just wondered because it's interesting to say that, and it is interesting to see that. I guess what you're saying is that is as essential as running 4 hours or whatever crazy things you do. So tell the viewers a bit about a quick run through your week at the moment. What's day Monday to Sunday? Quick, what do you do?
So Monday is core work.
Yeah.
Monday is core work. Yeah. Tuesday at the moment is about 10 to 15 miles. Wednesday's core as well, but I'm doing sort of weights more on a Wednesday and what's it called, TRX sort of stuff.
Yeah, AST, the Wolverton AST will put in there,
which is brilliant.
Great bit of kit, yeah.
And that's partly because of my rucksack that I'm carrying everything, to get stronger for that. Thursday is the same as Tuesday, sort of 10 to 50 miles. And then the weekends is back-to-back long runs, basically.
Is that Friday, Saturday and Sunday?
Oh, so definitely, yeah. They've got to be back to back, yeah. So Friday is actually a day of rest, which is, again, very important. You have to rest.
Absolutely, yeah.
Doing this, that, and the other, it's important for your body to have that day of rest. And then Saturday and Sunday, long runs back to back. Saturdays, really, at the moment, is supposed to be about 2 to 3 hours. Sunday, 4+. And then as you get closer to the sort of May, getting into April, May, then it's kind of reverses to about 4 hours Saturday and up to about 8 hours Sunday. Yeah, but that can be run, walk as well, the really, really long ones on Sunday, because that's replicating what we're going to be doing in the jungle. It's going to be hilly, it's going to be flipping hot, carrying a lot of gear, so it's trying to replicate as well what we're doing there.
Because I mean, it's really interesting. What I'm trying to do with this video is really interesting, the jungle bit, and I'm interested also, and I know some of my guys will be in the. So, I guess the nugget from this is actually do the warming up, the warming down, the stretching, the ice bath. The training schedule is interesting as well. Is that you are doing core and strength work, not just running.
Absolutely, yeah, very.
And
as you get a bit older, I think you can get away with it when you're a little bit younger. But everybody I speak to is running running club. You've got a couple of the guys who are like me, early 40s, and everyone says, "Yep, got to do your core stuff just to keep you, stop injuring yourself." Basically.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, lots of runners. They're just. I mean, do you do because I'm quite interested in the yoga side. I'm doing some work with a yoga teacher, and I love that stuff now I'm older, because it really helps my I don't really focus on anything at all. I'm a bit of an all-rounder, and I like to keep a bit of strength work, as you like yourself. I love the suspension training, the wolves and stuff, but kettlebell. It's just interesting to hear that even with the ultra run, all right, your weekends seem to be extreme.
Just running really, but Mondays and Wednesdays core, and I kind of just do different types in a way. Yeah, I don't have a set plan, but I just make sure I do what I'm happy with really. Yeah.
So, go on.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, because my job as well, I'm a decorator. I mean, I'm literally on my feet all day long, going up and down ladders, whatever, So it can be a bit of a rush. We've got a little farm as well, so it's just, that's why I like doing it. I've got it set up in my own shed just to help time again. I'm not going off to do classes or anything like that. I'm doing it based from home, basically, then, just to save time now. Yeah, because it's loads of us just rush around, don't we, like idiots?
Yeah, totally. You've got to just get it done. You have got to get it done, and if it's if that's the environment that works for you, absolutely great.
It's getting easier now, obviously, because daylight is getting longer, isn't it? But certainly the winter bit for me, it's been quite hard to just
Okay, so I'm going to focus a bit on the mind now. So, if we don't mind, I mean, it's interesting that, I mean, do you still run for your dad's charity? Is that something that you do? Is that something for the ultra, or what's the? Because to do these things, you don't just get up on a Saturday, run 2-3 hours, and then get up on a Sunday and run 4 to 8 hours. Do you know what I mean? Is there anything that and that's personal, you don't have to answer it, is anything that drives you, but almost what's the mindset when you get to mile 3 and you're like, oh, do you know what? Fuck.
Yeah. No, I tell you how my brain works and how this all comes about. The same as the marathon thing, the barefoot thing, all that kind of thing, is I like to think of some weird challenge. This is what I consider weird, like the barefoot thing. This is a bit weird. Look it up. I actually saw this on telly and thought, I fancy a bit of that. Book it, and then I figure out what needs to be done. So you look at, all right, so what's the training, and they offered you a plan, and I've tweaked it and made my own sort of thing, but then I just figure it out. All right, I've got X amount of months, here's the plan, and then you just get on with it.
So you basically book it,
and then worry about it.
And I like that.
No, if you thought about it and went through all this, that, and the other, I wouldn't get around to doing it probably.
So are you saying that your mindset is there's a bit of actually what's the point of worrying about it, because but you're also putting in the training, so there is You don't just turn up.
Oh no.
So what? Say for instance, what bits you find in the week, when you run it? Is there when you must get tired, you must get fed up, you must get to a point that you're like.
The week are the hardest, yeah, because it's just trying to fit things in around work, basically.
Yeah.
It's like tomorrow morning, for example, I'll be setting an alarm at 5:30. It's which I don't mind, but it's rushing to get it all done and warmed up and warmed down, and like I said, the process we talked about earlier, getting all that done, and then coming home and having breakfast and getting straight out the door and going to work again all day.
What keeps you going though? What was the? I mean, is it something? Is it your own desire to get better? Is it your charity? Is it an external driver?
Definitely neither of those. For me, it's very simple. Like I said, I pick something I want to do. In this case, the Jungle Ultra. Then you figure out what you need to do, and then you just do it. So you've got to make it work one way or another. And so, for example, tomorrow morning, I could easily go, I can't be bothered. But that's not the plan. You've got to stick to the plan. Because if you don't do what you need to do, you're going to turn up there and look like a brat, really, aren't you?
So is it something that, I'm still on the mind, is it something that actually subconsciously you're setting yourself goals like regularly? So the marathon thing with bare fit, it's almost like it's an interesting, because I almost find if I'm not, mine aren't as extreme as you, but I've always got something I'm working on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Otherwise I'm kind of like a bit I can't just exist.
Yeah. No, you've got to have something that tweaks you and gets you going.
Do you think when you finish the Ultra, because I'm sure you will, do you think, is it as soon as you finish, you're like, right, what next? Or do you bask in the glory, chill out for a week or two, and then go, right, I'm down the pub, I got you, because I said, I know that you're kind of going a bit, you're going cold turkey until then.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about that. What's the kind of, is your wife flying out to your finish line, or is it just basically, right,
No,
on a plane, back home, right, I'm going to run around the world barefoot or on my hands?
No, I probably will have a bit of a rest when we get that. I'll probably just go, I won't stop running, but I'll probably just get straight back to running club, with lots of people I haven't seen for a while, and just, like you said, kind of chill out for a month a little bit. In the summer, we're going to have loads of jobs here to do at my place on the farm, and then I'm sure I'll come up with something. Maybe not quite so massive this time. Kate, my lovely wife, has said something on home soil would be good. So
yeah, I'm going to say, what's the because I'm interested now in the adventure, so I'll go into the adventure bit now, because and what type of, because we're quite interested in Brawd and you start to do a few adventure trips, and I'm getting more into this stuff, learning more, and but I call it, like, we call it micro and mini adventures, where really the risk is low. You got phone, you're not that far from a whatever.
Yeah.
Anything goes wrong. So tell me about some of the things you've had to train for to do this. This a bit of survival and safety and navigation. And
well, no, luckily we don't actually need to navigate, because that is something I am flipping useless at, to be honest.
I was going to ask that. I was quite interested. Go on.
No, so we're not. We don't need to navigate. Before we get there, they are literally they cut tracks through the jungle and whatever, but then they go around and they are sticking, just like at most races over here, they will be sticking bits of tape on trees,
What if you, but these distances are quite big. I mean, do people get lost?
People have got lost. What happened is, was it last year or the year before, they invite local people, but they just turn up anyway, and really nice characters, but they've had a couple of them that have been taking markers off and things like that. I think they initially just were taking it too seriously and didn't want to be beaten, on their patch or whatever reason, I don't know. So markers went missing, and some people did go and do massive long detours and things like that. But generally speaking, no, they are welcomed along, and they're an asset. And actually, runners are leaving stuff. Like when we finish this year, we'll leave stuff for the local guys who want to do it next year. So literally, they haven't got shoes, they haven't got technical t-shirts or anything like that. So we'll be giving them lots of stuff. In fact, we're taking out stuff for them as well this year.
Wow. And I don't know. How are you going to train for I'm assuming it's kind of quite the humidity. Is it in the tropics and all that jazz? And
100% humidity, yes. It's mega hot. So for what little bit I've figured out, my plan is heat training doesn't work if you do it too much in advance, because it just doesn't work. You'll get acclimatized to the heat, and then of course you stop, and then it's over. So from what I figured out, it's about 2 weeks before you go, you're going to do some heat acclimatizing. So I've got a big shed and a small shed. In my small shed, I'm going to set up I've got an exercise bike and all that kind of stuff. Set it up in there, heater on full blast, shut all doors, windows, and just do exercising in there, and have a steamer going as well for the steam side of things. Yeah. And I'll do that. Yeah, start about 2 weeks.
now, is that something you've kind of made up, or is that recommended? I love it.
Made up, and chatting to a few people who did it last year as well, and they kind of done similar things. Some people did what's it called, Bikram yoga, I think it is, the hot yoga.
Yeah, I've done a bit of that.
Your supple bodies and the heat and everything like that. But I think personally, I'm going to be doing aerobic exercise in my shed in the heat. I won't be doing it all the time. I mean, I'll be out running probably with more clothes than I normally would in the summer as well. So if we get a bit of heat before I go, I'll be running in the hottest part of the day.
In a black bin bag and a woolly hat.
I probably won't do that because you just sweat loads, and I don't want to lose any weight. But I'll probably be putting a few layers on, just as coming.
Fantastic. I love this because people think they need permission to do this, as in they need to fly to, I don't know, Kilimanjaro and strap some. But you're going in the shed with a heater and a bike.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a steamer, or probably a wallpaper steamer, because I'm steam. It's perfect. It's just what you want.
And just tell the wife, if I don't come out in half an hour.
Yeah, exactly. No, that is. Yeah, I've already said that. Yeah.
I've collapsed.
Yeah, exactly. I've done it wrong and I've collapsed. So, yeah.
What about the food then? What do you take? You're obviously not going to be taking. Tell me about the food you take and things like that.
Food-wise, what we get is in the morning and the evening, they provide us with hot water. We can have access to hot water. So basically, we can make, in the evening is going to be expedition food. So it's all freeze-dried, high-calorie freeze-dried food. So I'm already munching a few of those, finding out what works and what doesn't. They're about 800 odd calories you can get in one, sachet like that. Yeah, not very big. But according again to people last year, they come in like a foil packed thing that's quite small. But even that's not small enough apparently. So you have one in the foil wrapper, and then all the rest of them, you break them open, you tip them out of the foil wrapper into Ziploc plastic bags because they're lighter and smaller. And that one foil packet that you open first, that is your bowl for the week.
Nice.
Yeah, lovely.
So even in what type of, and I guess that's your food and you've talked about a bit around, there's no navigation, but you need, do you need to run with your hammock, or is that taken to each?
No, we carry everything. Yeah, hammock, sleeping bag, big medical kit. We've got to carry loads of medical stuff as well.
And you run with that as well?
Yeah, everything, yeah.
And how heavy is that in kg, pounds?
Well, it's going to start off 9 to 10 kilos maybe, so it's pretty heavy. And then it gets lighter as you go along because you're eating all your food, so that's a bit of a bonus, yeah.
So you take the food for the 4, whatever it is it 4 days?
4 days, yeah.
Sorry?
5 days.
So you take your 5 days food?
Yeah.
And
so quite a big chunk.
I think that's incredibly light. 10k. I mean, it might be heavy.
That is
unbelievable.
Yeah. And that's everything. That's your bed, your sleeping stuff, your food, your medical kit, anything you can think of, your gel, everything. Yeah.
Cool. What about water then? What happens with water?
Obviously, because of the heat, they know, we're going to need plenty of water. So they have, it's well run. So we go through lots of checkpoints. At every checkpoint you get to, you have to refill, and you have to always have 2.5 litres of water. So that's on, the water goes on top of the 10 kilos. So our bags will be about 10, hopefully. and then the water 2.5 litres.
Yeah, that's obviously the major risk in there is, I mean, the water is just...
Yeah. So they make sure that we're having plenty of water, and you have to be drinking that between each checkpoint, and also electrolytes, which is the big thing, because with sweat's just going to be constant pouring out of us,
Yeah.
Electrolytes and salts and all that kind of stuff. So I've managed to find a company that does them literally for very hot ultras.
Yeah.
But they've got advice on how many of these things to take, and then really there's no point in me experimenting with them here, because it's not the same conditions.
You're just gonna...
If it gets hot in May or whatever, I'll give them a bit of a bash. But other than that, yeah.
Well, yeah, you're gonna hold water and all sorts if you take them here. It's really interesting. So
that's quite a worry, because you can't really, I can't really test that one out. But I'll just make sure I've got enough of these salt and electrolyte tablets, and then try and figure it out as we go along.
It's a great attitude to have, as far as, right, and actually, how can I can't over prepare, but you are, you're preparing as for what you can.
Yeah.
What with your runs in? So bringing it back to the kind of like the body and nutrition. What do you know how many calories you have a day? On your training and things like that. Do you manage that, or do you do that a bit of?
I try and eat sensibly, and then like the days when I am doing the long runs, it's just eat fest for me, really. Again, I try and eat things that I know are going to be good for me. Vegetables, lots of meat, lots of food, fruit rather, that kind of thing. But yeah, no, I'm just eating as I want, really. Yeah.
You're not on some special kind of, you're not going, paleo, where, you're high fat. You're basically, I'm assuming you're getting a lot of complex carbs, starchy carbs, your rice, potato, pasta, because I'm assuming for someone like yourself, you'll need a fair bit of energy.
Oh, hell yeah.
Just to get you through, the day. But it's interesting to me that actually you're doing quite an intense race, quite an extreme race, but actually you're not really going, right, unless I get my, I don't know, you'd probably be on 6,000-7,000 calories a day potential. I don't know, if you're doing that type of work on the weekend.
2 weeks, I'll be working that out, as in planning on what I'm taking, laying it all out, including all your gels and everything that's got a bit of calories in, and trying to figure it out. We have to carry 1,500 calories a day, which is nothing.
No, I know. So
that is our minimum that we have to take, and I don't think anybody will be taking 1,500 a day, because it's not enough, is it? Well, unless you're a big guy and you don't mind shrinking a lot while you're there, which I'm not. So. Yeah.
Well, no, that's a massive kind of, Jesus.
Yeah, that's huge calorie deficient, the word is. But yeah. So no, I'll be definitely taking a lot more than that. Yeah.
It's going to be a map. I mean, do you? I mean, have you ever to the term bonk? Have you been through that type of stuff? Are you managing your, when you're out in these runs on the weekend? So you're doing your 4 hours to 8 hours on the weekend. What do you? At what point do you go, right, I need to put in something?
It's getting used to eating while running.
Okay.
I've got my gels. I use chia seed gels that have got salts in and stuff like that. So I'm having those. I'm having things like peperamis, which apparently keep in the jungle brilliantly. Yeah.
What?
Salted protein, pepperami. I would never eat a pepperami normally.
I love these things, because someone was telling me, one of our clients, Alex Harris, was telling me about that he'd been told to eat some really cheap pizza and slice it up because of the salt content, and there's no good having these fancy things when actually the cheap pizza gets the calories in and the salts. And you just said pepperami, which is fantastic. I mean, that is a kind of a nugget.
Yeah. See, obviously pizza I won't be having in the jungle because it wouldn't last.
Yeah. So you were talking the proper, the green pepperami.
Yeah.
So tell me about, what's the theory behind that? Salt,
protein. Yeah.
Because there's not many, fat, a lot of calories, I suppose. Light.
Yeah. I will be taking bars as well, bars and gels. So, and just eating little and often, really, while you're running. So just keep keeping things going, just keep.
And is that what you do on like your Sunday big run? You did.
Yeah. Well, Well, it's all new to me really, because the distance is getting bigger and bigger. So that's what I'm practicing, especially over the next 2 months, really. So
you're practicing eating while running.
Yeah.
And do you wait?
I can do that anyway, but obviously as the runs get longer, your body, needs more, doesn't it? So that's really, because you can go and run easily 10k plus, and you don't have to really think about food, do you? As long as
or water, you could probably in this country you get away with, you get away with it as well.
Yeah, but obviously as it gets longer and longer, you can't do that. So it's just that getting used to. So that's what I'm going to be practicing, is just working out exactly how much, and getting advice from people who did it last year, because we're chatting to a few on Facebook, which is great. And it's just that keeping things ticking over, really. Yeah.
So is it scheduled like half an hour pepperami, an hour gel, hour and a half, or is it, I know that my body's telling me, or my body's going to tell me in half an hour I need to, are you used to that thing yet?
I know what stages there are on the ultra marathon, and there's reports on each single one. Some of them are way worse than others, as in like one of them's through logging tracks. It's called I think it's called logging actually, and it is gruesome. I mean, that potentially might be 12 hours on the go. Yeah, and that's not the long day. So as things go along, I'll be working out. Obviously I've got to carry everything, but I have a front pouch on my rucksack as well. That's going to have the food that I need to access for the day. Each day that I'm running, I'll put it into the front pouch the night before, and it's ready. So I just got to work out exactly what I need for each different stage, basically. Yeah.
Wow. But
there's lots of things to figure out, but yeah.
So say this Sunday, right? So this Sunday you're running. What are you going to be running this Sunday-ish?
What am I doing this weekend? Actually, we're going away this weekend, so it's going to be quite tricky. I'm going to a wedding.
Is that the one Andy's going to as well?
Yeah.
Wow, so you're just going to be nipping off, doing the odd,
No, we're coming back here quite early Saturday, so I will be out Saturday in the afternoon probably, and then Sunday I should have free to go.
Brilliant.
2 hours, yeah.
So what will you do so tell me about the food you'll eat on Sunday. So take me through the nutrition and the kind of, so you're going to be running on Sunday, say 4 hours plus? Yeah,
I won't be going that far this Sunday because I haven't quite got up to that again yet. I'll probably be good 2.5, something like that.
Okay.
So what will I be having? I'll have a good breakfast early.
What will you have for that?
Probably a good porridge, dates, banana, that thing. Yeah. And then I will have stuff like I said earlier. I've got my special chia seed gels that I take with me.
Yeah.
In my front pouch, peperamis.
Yeah.
And I've got a couple of normal gels that I've got to get through that I've just had in a box for a while. So that kind of thing, really.
Yeah. And so basically, you managed.
Yeah. For now, that's more than enough. Just to keep practicing, really.
Yeah. Got you. So as you up the mileage, then do you have a bigger? You can't really get a bigger breakfast in.
No, and to be honest, you don't want to do too much on the breakfast front, really.
Yeah.
As long as you've got food in, you don't want to do too much because you'll just be heavy, really. So
you're basically managing yours. I mean, do you wear a heart rate monitor and things like that?
No, I decided not to. No.
This is really interesting as well because I'm sure lots of the guys and girls running it will be looking at their zones and very much kind of staying within. And it's really interesting. You're a bit old school, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's really interesting because,
I know where I'm happy, and I know when I'm pushing it too hard. So I figured, it's one less thing to worry about.
I'm fascinated by it. I think potentially the management of trusting your body, I mean, technology and science and everything else, I could speak to someone like you and you could be telling me about, your macronutrients, your timing, you're taking this, that, and the other supplements, BCAAs, all before the race. Actually, most important thing is your training schedule.
Yeah.
you stress. You're not worrying so much that if you haven't got your right meal in, you're trusting your body.
Yeah.
But it's a fascinating ethos to have.
I know I'm going to have my main meal in the morning, which again will be like an expedition type porridgey type thing, which I've tried a few already. They're not bad actually. And then, you know, I'm going to have my meal in the evening, or maybe even 2, depending on how much weight I'm going to carry. And then like the lunch thing, you just don't do lunch because you're running in a forest in the jungle. So yeah, that's the bit that they're just ticking over, you know, with your bars and your gels and your whatever else you're going to have. Yeah.
Wow. And are you going to, you know, when you're out in these runs, because I always find that I'm doing a lot of more trail running. I'm bored shit, you know, the road just, I'm boring. Unless I'm running somewhere new, but do you have time to, I like to, you know, I take it in, or is it almost like training and I'd say 2 hours you're like, do you know what? I've had enough now when I'm just putting in.
You know, I still maybe the runs in the week can be kind of getting them done runs, you know, 2 to 3, but you still feel good for doing it, and you feel but you know, it's nice better there. I'm lucky I've got the Malvern Hills right near me. There's loads of different ways to go, and it's absolutely stunning. You know, I'm a real morning person, and also just to, you know, fit things in with life and keep everyone sweet, I get up really early. So Saturdays and Sundays when I'm doing my runs, rather than it consuming the whole day, I'll get up at 5 or 6 in the morning and I'm off, you know. And it is stunning. I can literally just sit in the town. I'm straight into Deer Park, and then up in the Malvern Hills, you get to see the sunrise, you get to see the deer, you get to see all that kind of stuff. And yeah, you don't get bored of that, do you?
No, that's wow. What nature, you know? What can you in the outdoors?
It's different, and yeah.
Wonderful, mate. Wonderful. I'm not going to. I'm going to kind of. We've been on a while. I don't want to take it with time anymore. I mean, I'd love to do some follow-up stuff as well. I'm keen with to get you down to one of the Brawd sessions, see some of the guys, and I'm really, you know, we'll be following you closely on this jungle ultra and everything else. But I mean, what's really interesting to me is the tips. Do you know what I mean? The tips around. Perhaps we could do like a little warming up and more what you actually do.
Yeah.
And also the ice bar thing, because we've been doing it. We did a run, and actually on the t-shirt on, we did the plug for them there. We did the Darth Brawd versus Darth. We did the Darth Manion Beach Swamp Run Challenge, which is about 13 miles of sea dips and things like that. And what we found when we were training is that actually the sea dips and the river runs really help with the calves and the muscles. And it's quite interesting to see you. I've seen you on your Facebook sitting in streams or something, you know.
So run, warm down, stretch, ice. Yeah.
So basically, what we're saying is no need for you are basically you need a shed, a wall stripper or whatever it was, pepper army, and some streams, and basically. None of this, no kind of, you know, really technical stuff. We're
No.
And also what I'm interested in, I'm sure, is the old conundrum of lots of the guys are kind of the trainers and, you know, what should you have or shouldn't you have? Am I this and that? And it'd be interesting to see how you found out what trainers suited you and if you're doing barefoot and, you know, there's lots of questions I got on that.
Yeah, no, the trainer thing is difficult. It is tricky. I've gone through, you know, trying a fair few, and then you behind me think, oh, they're all right, and whatever, and then they're not. And yeah, no, I found something that I like now anyway. Ruby toe box. That's what I need, because it's mega distances. Your feet will swell up, they will get bigger, and they need to drain because mine are going to be wet. We do 70 river crossings, I think, as well. So, and just because of the jungle and the humidity, feet are just going to be wet.
Yeah, and perhaps we can talk about the kit, because it'd be interesting to see what you've gone. Oh, look at that! Oh, wow!
See that?
Fixing your feet. Yeah. And it's fascinating because even with the runs that I've been doing, I get a bit of chafing to the point of it got a bit ridiculous, and I thought, well, like it's actually the worst bit of the run. You know, my legs were like achy, a little bit achy, and a bit of stretching here and there. But actually, the most painful bit was the massive gash that I created in between. And I was wearing, compression stuff. So obviously, what I was wearing didn't quite work for me.
Yeah.
The things like
Glide. Have you heard of Body Glide?
Yeah, I've just purchased them from Amazon Prime. And I've been, I haven't been out for a run. I haven't been running this week, so I'm interested. I've got a new pair of I've gone for a different compression short as well to see how that trial and error type thing.
That's exactly what I'm doing at the moment, and it's just trying to make sure I get it right. Of course, I can't. There's no plan B, so I've got to make sure I get a pair of shorts that are right, because like you said, you do not want to have the chafing issue. And if I do, I can't go, oh, well, they didn't work. I need to try some more tomorrow because I haven't got any box.
And that's the kind of thing I'm interested to speak to you again about, is what, how you've gone, what have you tried, what has worked, what hasn't worked, what maybe we talk about, not the brands, whatever, but, different thing like, calf, ankle socks, compression socks, and all that. Do you sit around in a compression vest after you run? It's all really interesting stuff.
Yeah, not for me, no.
I didn't think you would. I do
wear calf guards because I have hurt my calf, and that's my thing that I've got on. And they make me feel safe. They're like.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Some things. It's like all things in health and fitness. There's lots out there, but people generally agree on certain, like the ice bath, the calf. I mean, since I've been wearing compression socks, my calves are a million times better. And I know some of the other guys, and getting your trainers right. There's some things that seem to be everyone kind of agrees on, and there's levels of agreement. And then there's other things that are like, well, actually, mate, why? It's a really interesting, lots to discuss. Lots to discuss.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to wrap this up now, Si, because it's late, and judging by the training you're doing, you need to kind of.
It's going to be an early one tomorrow.
Get your sleep, mate. As I said, I'd love to speak to you again. Chat offline. Maybe get your Brawd T-shirt for the run. I'd love to see the Brawd logo through the jump. Maybe a spring vest or something.
Everything's going to be tested. Everything's going to be tested.
Some Brawd string vest, like a G-string or something like that.
Yeah, just make it a onesie, it'll be fine.
Well, oh, there we go. Perhaps we could, the onesie jungle ultra. Love it. Right, dude. Thank you very, very much. Is that a dartboard up there?
It's a fuzzy dartboard. Yeah, I've got a proper dartboard in the shed.
Love it. Right, Simon. Thank you so much for joining me, and take care, and I hope you speak soon, mate.
All right, Lodi. See you, mate.
Cheers, mate. Bye now. Bye.
Hi, folks. Coach Lover.
No worries.
You are being recorded now. So do not say shit or bugger.
Bag of shit.